Good evening, everyone. Me again. Sorry, second time in a row. You get way less pictures of mine this time. We have spectacular talent and a lot of people getting involved every year. If you haven't done so in terms of imaging, pointing your camera, or wondering what you can do in terms of getting involved in the imaging, please talk to us. We are more than happy to help. You'll find that we have an exceptional team in terms of being nice and friendly and welcoming and spending time teaching each other and learning from each other. It's been now 4 or 5 years since I held the first astrophotography course. We probably should consider doing another one and definitely do some more deeper sessions for the ones progressing. But it's, for me, it's quite moving to see that we have such a great team and group of nice people and friends coming out of that experience. And it's also annoying to see some people that were in that course being way better than me now taking pictures. So, it's the aging process, I guess. While I'm here, can I also take the occasion as member of the committee to clarify a couple of things? First of all, I didn't do much for the upkeep of the observatory and the area. Peter and the team there are doing a fantastic work. I'm just in the chat. It's fantastic to find how the observatory is kept, and we just enjoy it night in, night out without thinking too much about the effort that goes into it. I see the chat and all the times they have to go there on a Thursday, or when it's raining, or when water is going through something or smashing something and going and fix it. So thank you very much. And while I'm there, I want to mark the first year of Deborah as our chairman. Thank you very much. The energy and the passion and the organization brought the fact that we are also very clever. Sean has been very clever because he ended up having 2 chairmen that put the same efforts and work as hard as before. So thank you to you both. Now, on to the pictures. Members' images. I have this is not a picture of the sky, but it's the one recurring theme of this year. You may have seen that in my presentation last time if you were here. Telescopes are getting smarter, easier, more manageable for beginners. This is an example. There's other brands, but this is the most common set of smart telescope for imaging from ZWO. They cost a few £100, and what you can do, well, it's unnerving actually, because it took me 3 or 4 years to get to the quality of some of the pictures you see today. So it's really worth considering if you want to get into. But ask us. We will help you find the right choice and decide what's right for you. More than happy with that. But just to give you a feel, some of the first pictures you see were done with this kind of tiny telescope, this size. You can carry them in a bag, travel with them anywhere you go. And by the way, Richard, thank you very much. Some of my pictures were actually taken from Greece of the targets you mentioned earlier, so I'll make sure I share those later. Now, we have Nigel as the first person presenting. Nigel, do you want to come along and tell us about your picture?
Yeah, first off, thanks for welcoming me to the group. It's my first time here and very excited, and thanks for Debs for pointing me in this direction. So yes, as you can see, I'm a C-Star S30 owner. I got it probably about 10 months ago, and this is one of the kind of earlier images I did with it. As you can see, it's sort of December time, and I was just blown away by what detail I could get out of this. Obviously, Horsehead Nebula, and very out-of-the-box C-Star processing, just as Filippi was saying. It's incredible.
No editing.
Sorry?
No editing, just straight out of the box.
So just told it, process it. I changed the contrast a bit. Yeah. That was pretty much it.
Fantastic. So that's an example of what you can do just out of the smart telescope without any special processing and the kind of things we also do to pictures later on. There was one set of processing. I turned it around by 90 degrees just to make it a bit bigger.
Unfortunately, I think this was the first image that was the beginning of me deciding I wanted a better telescope. Yes. Because my day job, which is what I work with Debs with, is I'm a data engineer. I love data. I love lots of data. I love detailed data. And I looked at this and I thought, that's not detailed enough. So I'm sure we've all been there. But yeah, pop on to the next one, thanks. And this one sort of backed up that thought of mine. But again, forget what this one was. I think these were 20-second images. And left it out in the back garden for about 3 hours, ticking away, picking up these images. And when you come back to it in the morning, it's truly joyful seeing what pops out.
It is. Yeah.
So yes, M51, as we know. Oops. And then it doesn't quite do it justice on this one. It's quite dark on the original image. But this was probably the first time I saw M42 with this level of detail and the clouds coming out and the stars coming through it and things like that. And again, just said to me, I've got to get more. But very, very pleased with what came out of it.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. Before we move on to the next, I have to say the pictures look always better on the screen than our projectors. It's limited by a few physical aspects of it. So I urge you to go and see them on the recording. You know, you can flick through fast and not to have to listen to me, but the pictures are worth it, probably more than what you can appreciate today. So next one is, Suzanne, you want to present or shall I, as you prefer?
So I haven't done much stargazing because the weather's been a bit rubbish, but hey-ho. And I am going away in July, and it's coming with me, going to Wales, and I'm going away again in September, and it's coming with me again. So did this one stayed up to about 1 o'clock in the morning. Don't know whether it's a satellite or what going through, but I absolutely loved this one, and then sent it off to my work colleagues. I was nice, I didn't send it off at 1 o'clock in the morning. I thought I'd let them I'll send it during the day, and all of them were absolutely amazed by it, and I explained about my sea star. So I think it's about 33,000 light years away, this one?
I wish I knew. Yeah, probably.
Something like that. But I think it's absolutely amazing because it pops up quite quickly when it's finding it. But yeah, I absolutely love it. So I actually cropped it, and I'm on Discord, so that is now my profile picture on Discord. I thought, I love that. I'm cropping that. I'm having that as a profile picture. So, yeah.
And then, oops, apologies.
Nope. And that one, yeah, there's a lot of noise in this one, sorry.
But it's only 14 minutes.
It's only 14 minutes. I had a lot of stacking issues. It just kept flashing. It was running for about over an hour or so, and it just kept showing stacking, so I kind of pulled the plug and went, okay, time to go to bed. But I will have another go at it. And when I go away in September and July, I shall see what I can get, and fingers crossed I've got clear skies, and even if I spend every single night stargazing, I'm going to do it and get some good images. Cool.
Fantastic. Thank you very much.
Lovely. Thank you.
As you can see, once you get the bag, the next one is Ronnie, who also images with the sea star. So this is, you know, the first images are all taken with these kind of machines I was talking about. For Ronnie is a S30 or 50? Not just 50.
30, an S30. I think you can see there's a theme. We should actually be sponsored by Sea Star, shouldn't we, really?
Well, you know, one of the side effects of the course I held, when I held the first course, I was amazed by the fact that of the 20, 30 people there were probably 3 telescopes and 4 cameras. If I had taken shares in a couple of the retailers, since I would be very, very rich, and I feel guilty for all the money has been spent, but yeah.
You did promise me your credit card last week. So this is about 6.5 hours worth of Whirlpool done over a few nights, end of April, early May. Again, thanks to help from Antonio and Andy, who's somewhere in the room. Just the trick for me was letting it run overnight, chopping out the bad data, and then learning how to process it. And for those of you that have never processed anything like this, it's not straightforward, but I'm gradually getting there. But the colours there, I just love the colours in the spiral and the sort of gold bit at the top there. So I have been persuaded by Antonio, strangely, to upgrade my equipment so that I can get more detail, hence his credit card I'm looking for.
Thank you.
Oh yes, this one. So I did that this week, Pinwheel Galaxy, that's a couple of hours. For those of you that don't know this, on a sea star you can set a schedule and just say, I want it to go from this time to this time at night, so you don't have to spend all night outside. And it gives you the arc of where it's going to track. So if you've got very limited space, which I do in my garden, you can plot exactly where you want it to go, and it's great fun. Thank you.
So what you have seen here with the pictures from Ronnie, there's a very immediate way to use these machines, which is you take the first pictures like with Suzanne as they come out of the machine and they look great. If you then take some time and use external software on the same data, you can definitely get more information and more color. So it's a learning curve a little bit, but you can do, you can grow with these machines basically. Next up is Phil, who is clearly an expert developer because he's using the same tool you've seen so far, but the extra processing makes quite a difference. Probably extra hours. You must have spent some good hours on this, right?
Quite a long time, yeah. I remember the course that Antonio did 4 years ago on astrophotography. I know Cheryl and I were in the living room on Teams, and you inspired me really. But I also like Sean's sense of humor in saying that it's a cheap, cost-effective, cheap hobby. You should have seen the shopping list that Antonio gave Romy last week on upgrading his telescope. He was saying he needs a small mortgage for it. But anyway, a big thanks to Andy, Gus, Benny, and Antonio, really, who inspired me so much from really only 2 years ago, where my wife Cheryl bought me a C-Star 50, which really got me into these images. This is actually my new telescope I've bought recently, which is a C-Star 30 Pro. So this is one of the first images that I took with the 30 Pro. It's a very impressive chip. It's got a very wide field view. It was an image where I was playing around with, what I've realized is that because the camera is shooting color, you can actually split the color into RGB, and then you can create the false colors that the Hubble color palette produces. I know Antonio doesn't like these, but I quite like them. And it shows the oxygen with blue, green, the hydrogen under yellows. So this is an image that I put together. It looks very pale, doesn't it, compared to what it's on here?
That's why I'm telling people to watch them on the screen when you're back at home, because they pop more.
So this is an example of how you can take an image on the 30, and this was set on the plan actually, so this was taken over only 3 hours between 1 and 3:30 in the morning. So the 30 is quite impressive. You want to move on to the next one? This was, again, looking at the 30 Pro. It's got the facility to actually shoot the Milky Way and star trails as well. So this was taken in Norfolk about 3 weeks ago. I just wanted to see what it could do. It's only about an hour of data, but it's quite impressive. And it's quite beautiful, really, to see the Earth move, not the stars move. So, yeah, that's fine, yeah. This one was taken, some of you may have seen this before, because I think Antonio presented it, but this is taken with my C-Star 50. This was in Lanzarote in March this year, so that's about a Bortle 3.5 size, so it's quite dark skies. And I left this running for probably about 4 hours. And I've got 2 pictures here, one under visible light and then one where I split, again, the RGB to try and replicate the Hubble colors, which I personally find very dramatic. And although you can't see the color of the gases, that's actually how they ionize as the stars emit the radiation and excite the gas. You get these incredible colors. So quite a lot of post-processing on this as well. I mean, I normally process in Cyril, Graxberg, into cosmic clarity to sharpen the star mask up. And then I split the RGB and then recomposition the RGB in Cyril. There are two different scripts that you can use to do that. One is more simple than the other. The other one is complete nightmare to use, but takes time. And then I process in programs like Photoshop. I use one called Photo. It does the same thing. It's just not as expensive as Photoshop.
Other levels of obsessions are available.
The next one. And this is quite an interesting picture. This was, I think Antonio's shown this before, the Rosetta Nebula. Again, I shot in Lanzarote. And what's interesting about this one was, I think it's some of the examples of the process that you go through from the image on the top left on this block here on the right, which was the raw data, yeah, to how you split into the RGB, which is the one on the top right, yeah. So that's the image you get when you split in one of the Cyril scripts. And then through a series of quite torturous processing, you finally get to this image here. But I think it's worth it. It's the Hubble palette again.
It is the Hubble
which
palette.
you don't like, but
we have a
I
philosophical disagreement. I like natural color where hydrogen is red as natural light emission from hydrogen. Hubble to showcase better hydrogen, which is naturally red, but our eyes are more sensible to green. The Hubble palette shifts the red to green, so where you see green is hydrogen, and so they're beautiful, they're not what your eyes would see, and it's a philosophical approach to why you're taking images. But there's a lot of science in that because it allows you to see the gases differently and highlight better the differences between hydrogen and oxygen. That's why the scientists originally did it.
I think that's it. That was done on the C-Star 50. So there's two. Oh yeah, final one. This was my very first image actually that was taken in Norfolk. So that's this was 3 weeks ago with this 30 Pro. And this is a Bortle 4-site. A Bortle 3.5 to 4-site. It's quite, I might have put it on there. Oh, 3 to 4, there we go at the bottom. So in kind of normal processing and then again split into the RGB. It's a very wide field view. Gus inspired me to take this one. I don't know whether Gus is here tonight actually, but he did. Thank you, Gus. You sent me that amazing data and I thought, I want to take that. So this was my first image with the C-Star 30 Pro and a lot of time to process it, but it's an amazing region, the Cedar region, and the actual Crescent Nebula, which looks more like a brain rather than a nebula. But I think it's quite beautiful and it's full of oxygen. It's very rich in oxygen, so it comes up really blue. I know on Gus's data it came up really lots of cyan, but I think this is an incredible telescope. It's great for wide field views. Yeah, you need a bit of space in the sky to actually take the images, but the chip is absolutely awesome and you get a lot of detail and I think it's really good for doing images like this.
Thank you.
There you go.
Just to point out the Hubble palette, so this is hydrogen in natural red and this is shifted to green, while sulfur, which is sort of bluish green as well, is being shifted to red. And then blue is the same, the one that stays the same. You see here, oxygen being naturally green-blue stays pretty much the same in the Hubble palette compared to the natural eye color. So now you know, when you see pictures from Hubble and other telescopes, you can understand which gas is in each of them, basically. Okay, we have now Alana, which will present both her pictures and lucky you, you're also presenting Stephen's pictures.
Lovely. So I'm fairly new to astrophotography. Some of you might know I'm also on the committee at Hartford Astronomy Group, and it was actually the C-Star S30 that got me into astrophotography just back in sort of September time. And then in February, I bought myself a Sharp Star 61
and you decided to join a better society?
Yeah. Well, yeah. I needed a night off, so that's why I come here. I got myself a colour camera, a 585 MC Air, and an AM3 mount. And the C-Star, actually, the Orion Nebula was one of the first images that I took with the C-Star, because I think it's quite an easy sort of target. You get quite a nice return for a short space of time. So I thought it was sort of fitting to do that as my first light on my actual scope. So that is this one. It's quite red on that screen, actually. Yeah, you're right. It's nicer on here. Yeah. But yeah, really enjoy that, and I think that's come out quite well. This one, M81, M82, this was actually taken on a Radian 61. It was Steve's. Mine, I was waiting on a reducer, and I felt that I couldn't quite get focus as well, and the stars around the edges were a little bit sort of off. So I used his, and he actually processed this for me. That's why it looks pretty good. You're looking at that really.
It looks better on screen again.
Yeah,
it's
no,
very overblown.
Yeah.
In the, oops, sorry, apologies.
That's all right.
It's
yeah, absolutely.
It's a bit overblown here compared to the original picture.
And the red doesn't quite stand out at the top as well. But that was another one of mine. Just back in April, short subs. I just do 60 seconds. I didn't have an autofocuser or guiding or anything set up then, so my subs were quite short, and it was about 2 hours. And edited in PixInsight, which I'm just getting the hang of. So Steve's not here. I've got notes for Steve because he's, yeah. So which one?
So the notes for Steve probably read very good, embarrassingly good, annoyingly good, extremely good.
So the Iris Nebula, this is one of his. He shot in Cuffley in his back garden just recently, I think, actually, on his Celestron 8 HD Edge. He uses a couple of different filters, again, done in PixInsight. He tends to go with 120-second subs, and he tends to try and do about 150 of those, so about 5 hours, and that is pretty nice, I would say. Yeah, the dust on that is beautiful.
So just to explain what you're looking at, this is a reflection nebula, which is essentially dust being illuminated by the blue star in the middle. And then this is essentially dust that doesn't emit any of its own light, unlike the other targets you've seen. So these are very challenging targets because you need a very dark sky, and being able to do it from around here is quite an achievement in any situation. But then this also looks good, and there's a lot of contrast, even more so on the screen.
Absolutely, yeah, fabulous image. This one, M13, Great Globular Cluster. I always think this is fascinating to look at because there's so much detail. Again, just from his back garden in Cuffley, on his Celestron. You've obviously got the main cluster globule, hard to say, but also at the side, I noticed earlier when I was looking on my phone at about 10 o'clock, you've got like little galaxies off to the edge. These are great to look at. Definitely have a look at the YouTube video after, or on his Instagram as well, and you can zoom in and take a nice look at this.
So this is the target that Richard was pointing to you in Hercules as the biggest and probably the nicest to look at in terms of globular clusters in the summer.
This one, M101, Steve actually took this on holiday in Mallorca in early April. He went away with his SQA70, it's dedication to take his scope on holiday, I think. And this was quite obviously a wide field view, so you've got your main M101 in the centre, and then you've got two NGCs. I actually wrote down what they were. Steve didn't bother, but I did. NGC 5474, yeah, that's that one. And then at the bottom, you've got NGC 5477, just underneath, like a little tiny one as well. So, yeah, that's really pretty, absolutely stunning.
I have to say, one of the delights of taking pictures like this is the pictures look great and you're feeling proud, but when you look closely, you start finding things you were not expecting.
Yeah.
Tiny galaxies that are way further away than this one, which is one of the nearest ones. And there's a delight in realizing that probably you're taking pictures of something 100 million light years away or more. And, oh, this is beautiful.
Yeah, so this is his Needle Galaxy taken from home in Cuffley. This is absolutely stunning, I think. This doesn't do it justice at all. The centre is just beautiful, like the sort of, what do you call it, like a haze?
I would call it makes me jealous, so let's move on.
Sorry about that. But yeah, same processing, his Celestron 8 HD, PixInsight, long subs. I think this is about 4 hours, I want to say, 5 hours. Yeah, absolutely stunning. I think he won one of the images of the month, yeah, for cloud magnets. Yeah, wouldn't surprise me.
Really, this one you need to go on the screen. Of all the ones we've seen so far, this doesn't give any idea of how good the picture is. I was talking about Andy when I was talking about Young Turks really getting better every day. you need to come and, please do look at this on YouTube. It's the Jellyfish Nebula. It's actually surprising. Yeah, it's probably still visible in February. It's a target you can get December to February. You need a reasonable wide field because it's a big target. It clearly put the hours in, 8 hours to get to this, and the processing with a Skywatcher 50ED, which is a small scope. So for those that don't do this every day, small scopes give you a wide field, and big scopes tend to give you a very narrow field. And we have essentially 2 seasons, probably the same for observers and people that actually look at what is in the sky and other than taking pictures. But we have nebula season, roughly from July all the way to December, where we are looking inwards in our Milky Way, and therefore we see globular cluster, the Milky Way itself, and the details, so the nebulas inside it. And then the rest of the year, spring, early summer, we have a galaxy season where we look outside and we take pictures of very small, bright galaxies very far away, basically outside ours. This is also a galaxy I've not imaged in itself, very difficult target, faint and very deconstructed. Again, way better in screen. NGC 2403. Taken from a darker site than ours, which is Stoner Park, which is probably half an hour drive further into Oxfordshire. Again, great picture, 6 hours of effort. The Whirlpool, lovely colors you can see in the Whirlpool galaxy. You've seen them in with the C-star, and I think this is an example of what you can achieve when you move on to bigger telescopes. You can zoom in, you can see the detail, you can see the nebulas inside another galaxy. All this red here, purple, is nebulas inside a different galaxy. So, again, spectacular picture. Using a combination actually of normal pictures unfiltered, and then using a specialist hydrogen filter to bring out the colors of the red hydrogen. And finally, I think this is the last from Andrew, the Draco triplet in Draco. Not a target that a lot of people know about. Again, better on screen, but spectacular because you have 3 different types of galaxy. You have a very nice spiral galaxy seen from above. You have what is probably a spiral galaxy seen from the side, and then you have a more elliptical globular galaxy in the center. Oh, yes, another beautiful picture from Andrew taken with a DSLR camera, Canon. Again, a star trail with a beautiful foreground. Somewhere here in England, I've seen. Was it written in there? Yeah. Oh, Toddington. And one more I added as a bonus because I was jealous and it was too good to leave behind. This is the moon, as you can imagine, as you can see, with a lot of detail, but also what we call a mineral moon, which is what the moon is really like if you consider the fact that all the craters and the seas in the moon are different kind of minerals. And with astrophotography, you can really bring out the difference between those minerals in the moon and highlight the different colors. So I find this always stunning, the people that can achieve this one, because it gives you a further insight in the varied geology of our moon. Okay, Thomas.
This is the witch's broom, taken with my FF80 SWHAS from the house. I've used the Optilong L Ultimate filter, and it's 3 minutes, probably about 23 minute subs. Andy will be saying that you've got dust on your lens, which I've got to start doing flats to get rid of it. but I'll get around to that someday.
So again, you see hydrogen and oxygen in green. These are natural colors. And this is a part of the Veil Nebula, right?
Yeah. Bottom right-hand side.
Yeah.
This is a Rosette Nebula taken at Ardwell, which is Portal 2. And it's probably only about 12 3-minute subs. It's surprising, I mean, no filters at all. When you get the skies dark enough, you don't need any filters. Unfortunately, I was going up for my wife's sister's birthday, so I wasn't going up for Astro, but I sneaked out and got a couple done, you know.
You mean you have to be social for once? We all have that problem, don't we?
I'll be back in a minute. This is the Flying Bat Nebula. It's very, very difficult to find. And again, it's with the L Ultimate to bring it out, but this probably a couple of hours, 3 minutes. Again, no, what do you call it, the secondary camera.
Sorry?
The secondary camera to tracking.
A guiding?
Okay. Yeah, because the guide is the 2600 Air Pro, which has got the guide camera built in, but when you use a L Ultimate filter, trying to get the guide camera to work's very, very difficult.
I went up to a mountain in Italy once, spent an hour and a half looking for the target, couldn't see it in the camera and gave up and moved to something else. Is that difficult?
Yeah. This here, interesting, these last two, this is Thor's helmet. These are actually taken remotely. Last year I was confined to barracks for quite a time. I had both my knees replaced and I couldn't get out to an Astro. But I went onto this website and you can actually buy data sets. You could actually program a computer and telescope to do your own, or buy data sets. They're your own pictures. You've got to do all the processing, but it's somebody else taking them for you. It's like you're commissioning them to take them. You've got to pay for it, but I think it's something like you join, it's about maybe £12 a month, and you get credits, and after a few credits, you can buy images with them. Next one's my favourite. That's the Witchhead Nebula. Our face is getting lit up by Rigel at the bottom of the Rhine Nebula. This is taken from a Portal 2, so I'm hoping to go back to Ardwell when she's out again and getting it by myself, but instead of having to go to a dark sky site to purchase it, I actually go and I take it for myself.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And thanks everybody for the help.
No, my pleasure. Thank you for the company. Okay, Gerard.
Hi, good evening everyone. So I was interested in doing electronically assisted astronomy. So you point the telescope and you view the image live on a screen, and it's a bit like seeing something through an eyepiece. So that's the idea. And on the left is what I took in Norfolk. It's goodish sky, 0.3 second exposures over 80 seconds. It could have been shorter because I think it's quite bright, Orion. And I just thought, how does that compare to what you can see in an eyepiece? And from the internet, I got a sketch from someone called Will Gator. Same telescopes, 8-inch SCTs, and you can see the difference. Obviously, my picture's overexposed in the center, so you can, but the interesting thing is you can sort of see the picture building up as you're sort of looking at the screen. And I did it in sharp cap, so there's a sort of little facility at the bottom to do a bit of stretching. but I didn't do any other processing. So I just thought it was an interesting comparison.
The big difference essentially being colors.
Because you see colors, and you can probably see a lot more detail. But not a lot of detail, not as much detail as the other photos. So, should we move to the next one? Oh, right. Right.
The aurora.
So, in Norfolk, we just happened to see the aurora borealis, and handheld with my mobile phone. So on the left side, I can't really point, but you can see Cassiopeia, but there's a bit of hand movement. And but visually, you could see the sky was a bit brighter than it was normally, was brighter than it was in over other nights. And if the last one, please. Well, I just thought, oh, Venus has disappeared. You can just about see Venus. But so I quite like doing pictures where you see the sort of wide view and then you sort of focus in. So, and that's also a bit like a smile. So I thought that was quite nice. So, yeah, that's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Oh, okay, it's me. You've probably seen enough of mine, so I'll flick through quickly. This is a zoomed-in view of M51. I have not gone for a lot of colors, but I hope there's enough detail here in the nebulas. This was taken from a combination of Stoner and high top. But you know, the light again is the little finds, the things you don't expect, the galaxies that pop out after an hour or so of imaging. That give perspective of who we are and where we come from and how far everything is. This is a selection of non-trivial targets that you don't normally see because they are essentially a bit harder to do. This is called the antennae. It's essentially two galaxies merging with each other and making a nice heart shape. The kind of target is easier to get to from Italy. I took this one while in Italy back in, when was it? Probably around Easter. So it's still possible probably to see from England, but it would be too low. And then I think we now move to a few pictures that I took 2 years ago. I reprocessed them, realized they were much nicer than I remembered, so I wanted to share them, but also because we're coming into summer, and I swear we didn't organize it with Richard. They are the targets he was highlighting in the summer, early summer Milky Way. If you move essentially to Italy, Greece, Spain, if you go south for the summer for holiday, do bring a pair of binoculars with you. It is really spectacular if you go outside a city, if you are in a dark place. That part of the Milky Way is beautiful. This is the Trifid Nebula, very zoomed in. This is the detail of a bigger picture, which I probably have next. But essentially hydrogen and then reflection of oxygen. So you need a dark sky to take this picture. Again, it looks a little bit better there. And then this is, everybody knows this. This is the Pillars of Creation made famous by Hubble. With a very reasonable 80 millimeter, half a meter focal length telescope zoomed in, so nothing excessive. But it's taken only 2.5 hours because the dark sky of Greece helped. Again, you can do this from England. It's easier if you do it in southern Italy or Greece or even more south because it will be higher in the sky. Therefore, you have less light pollution. You have less atmospheric disturbances. But yes, I think at some point I will convert this into Hubble Palette and mimic Hubble and showcase that I can do it with a few £100, maybe. That's what I tell my wife I spent, yes. Okay, and I think this is my last one, M101. Quite proud of this one, which I took from High Top and Stoner, and where you can see quite a lot of details, internal nebulas inside there, and the likes and the likes. So this is what normal celestron is, a C6, so the smallest of the celestron SET. I'm not using a massive machine because I need to travel with it. We have a few spare ones, but randomly inserted, so I'll carry on with a couple very briefly. They're probably Andrew. I'll present it for you quickly, and I'll do the same with Phil. Just add a few spares. So Andrew, this is the Croc-Psi galaxy. Quite a challenging target, but is quite peculiar, isn't it? Because it's sort of round, lenticular, with an outer halo that is very difficult to capture, and it takes quite a lot of time, especially from England. And then a spiral inside, and beautiful yellowish golden color. I'm looking here, there's a galaxy there. If you go around, you may spot some. It's just an interesting target. Again, from Andrew, again, way better on screen because you don't see the detail here. This is the California Nebula. Again, a winter target, full of hydrogen, very red, way better on screen. Thomas, I think this was yours, was it? Yeah, Andromeda. Andromeda, as you can see, is so big that very often it's difficult to fit it all in the kind of telescopes we use. And so it needs quite a wide field telescope. Again, from Thomas, the Bubble Nebula, that really looks like a pearl or a bubble. Beautiful target near Cassiopeia, so typically more of a winter target. And then a couple of pictures from Phil again with the sea star, the Iris Nebula. So, we said how difficult it was to do that, what Stephen did earlier, but you can get it done even with a sea star, with a tiny little machine that is smaller than this laptop in size. Again, two great pictures from Phil, full of colors, M51, and I think that's Bode's galaxy, is it? Yeah. No, it's written in there, I should read. And then very colorful Orion. It must be quite a lot of hours. 3 hours, it's Spain, you see. I have a reasonably trained eye, and I know you cannot do this one in an hour, even if it's very bright. You need 3 hours, and you need to go to Spain to get this kind of color and detail, especially with a telescope whose aperture is 50 millimeters, so it cannot gather a lot of light. But still, spectacular, both in terms of what the telescope can do and what Phil has done with it. Witch's Broom, as we saw earlier from Thomas, it also gives you a feel of what you can do with different telescopes and how detailed they can be. There's a limit to what physically a telescope like the Sea Star can do, but this is stretched to the limit. Well done.
Just very briefly, we had a clear session week, which is very unusual. Managed to capture the entire phases from a thin crescent right up to a full moon in a week, which is pretty incredible, particularly as we've got very large trees in the garden, so the early phases are very difficult to see. This is just straightforward sea star imaging. I didn't do anything to it. To me, it looks pretty good. I must admit, I'm really impressed with that. And I did actually push one of them to get the colour, so we did have a bit of colour on one of them, but this is not on this particular set. But the enlargements are also pretty good, particularly in the one, the left one here, where you can see the splash of lava, a splash of a trail across the Sea of Serenity, which is quite a feature of that particular mare, and the difference in colour between that and the Mare Tranquillitatis, which is below it. The other second one shows a good few of the craters along the Terminator, including Ptolemaeus, etc. And it will also show to the right, and just near the bottom of the picture down here, right there, the three that meet into each other. That is Aristillus and Theophilus and Caterina, one overlapping into the other, and the end picture shows quite well the crater down the bottom, which is let's think. That's goodness, never mind. Anyway, famous
Copernicus,
crater, it will come to me in a minute.
talking rubbish.
But I thought it was good to get so many images quickly in a week, and that was the feature I did. The other, and if we go to the next one, which is the C-star clusters.
This is probably, by the way, rarest as a picture than any of ours.
That's it. Okay, now these are pictures that I took. I found that clusters turn out very good on C-star. And actually, the great thing about C-star is you can actually observe something else visually while you're actually doing some work in astronomy through the telescope, through the imaging. So M35, it's in Gemini. It has a small cluster that's much further away, twice again as farther away at the bottom right there, which is NGC 2158. Actually, quite difficult to see visually. I used to see it in my 8-inch reflector, but I haven't seen it for an awfully long time. On the left, there's Persepi, which is the beehive cluster. So that shows the orange, the yellow stars, and the white stars, pretty good. And over on the far right is actually M67, which is another cluster in Cancer, quite close to the star Alpha Cancri. And you can really not see it terribly well visually. It's quite a difficult cluster to see, but actually that's a good rendition of what it actually looks like. And the two globular clusters, that's M3, which was a very short exposure and actually has come out pretty well. And I'm quite pleased with it. And I'm pleased with the one on M13 simply because they actually look like they look visually. And that to me means a lot because I'm a big visual observer and I like to see things that look the same, if that makes sense. So I'm very pleased with it so far, and I hope to carry on to get some more globulars, etc. Thanks very much for having your patience.
Okay, I think that terminates the picture. If you are inspired to join us, come along. We also have equipment we can lend out, or just come along at high top when we go out there, which is virtually any clear night, even if it's a work night. We're done?
We're done. Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah. Okay, so that concludes the evening. Thanks very much for attending, and thank you for all who contributed. And as you can see, there's quite a wide range of images from all sorts of places and all sorts of telescopes. So if you've got any questions, here's the man that can answer them all. So thanks again for everybody that contributed, and thanks for attending.